Welcome to my 6 Scrap Jinx guide. In this video, I'll be going over the build, what items you make, how to play the early, mid, and late game, then I'll go into some in-depth positioning examples. The build is very flexible as there are a lot of units we can tech in and out of the comp. We have 5 core units for the comp, and they are Jinx as our main carry, Vi to give us 2 sister, Trundle to give us Bruiser and Scrap, Janna and Echo are there to give us 4 Scrap. We also prefer to have 2 twin shots, but since we can't get this through an augment, there is no core twin shot unit. A standard level 8 board looks like this. Here we add an Urgot for twin shots and Ziggs and Blitzcrank for 6 Scrap. The goal of this comp is to give Jinx a gigantic shield that lets her survive for a long time in the backline, while we also are getting a ton of value from each component as it turns into a full item. Another variation is this. Here we add an Urgot for twin shots, Jace for Enforcer and to be a strong frontliner, and Yuumi for Scholar and giant amounts of CC. We can also cut down to just 2 Scrap with this variation, but at this point we're just playing Chemtech Urgot with Jinx carry instead. I will go more in depth on which of these variations you want to run in different situations in the late game part of the video. Jinx is our main carry, so we prioritize making items for her first. She has 1 core item, and that is BT. This item makes sure that she is able to heal up from the splash damage she will be taking. Since she jumps into the backline, she will often land in the stupidest position where she just ends up inting. Therefore, a healing item is crucial to make sure she doesn't die right away. Hodge can work as a replacement for BT, but it's nowhere near as great, as we need it to roll healing every time for it to be worth it. The second item wants to be a damage item. This wants to be Deathblade, i.e. Hurricane, Hodge, or Rageblade. Deathblade is the best, but it is hard to build as you need 1 sword for BT and you need another 2 for Deathblade. The third item wants to be another damage item. This wants to be one of the ones already mentioned as the second item, but Giant Slayer and Static Shiv are also worth mentioning as they can be great in some lobbies. After we have itemized Jinx, we want to spread out components to the other Scrap units. Blitzcrank wants belt, chain, or cloak, Trundle wants bow, sword, chain, belt, or cloak, Echo wants belt, tier, chain, or rod, Janna wants rod, bow, or tier, Ziggs wants rod or tier. Other great items for this comp are Banshee's Claw and Zeke's Herald to buff up Jinx, Frozen Heart and Morello and Echo are also great, but you won't be able to make too many items in this comp as we need 3 items for Jinx and we also need to spread out our components to the other champions in order to get shield value. If you get a Spatula, there is no great item to make besides maybe Assassin Spat on Jinx. If you go Assassin Spat plus IE and BT on her, that sounds good in theory, but I have not tested this out myself as I'm writing this guide, so test this out at your own risk. The best augments for this comp are any Scrap Heart, Emblem, or Soul, Cybernetic Implants, Twin Shot Heart, Emblem, or Soul, Enforcer Heart, Emblem, or Soul, Knife's Edge, Junkyard, Sharpshooter, as well as econ augments like Rich Get Richer and Level Up. If you want to learn more about Hextech augments, check out my guide where I go in depth on that subject. The carousel priority for this comp is Sword, Bow, Belt, and Chain. Since this comp revolves mostly around 2 and 3 cost units, we can find most of the units in the early game besides Jinx, and the best opener for this comp is Ezreal with Bodyguard and Scrap, and some other great openers are Ezreal with Innovators, Trundle with Bruisers or Scrap, or Snipers with Bruiser Frontline. Once we have found our comp, we need to make items, and as a general rule, we want to make an item if we have 4 or more components. But since we want a lot of free components for this comp, we want to avoid making too many items besides the ones we want for Jinx. Therefore, you can slam 80 items for Jinx, but for the other components, you don't want to make them into items, and you just want to spread them out on your other units. Your early game strategy will depend a lot on how good your opener is. In some games you play for a loss streak, and in some games you play for a win streak. But since this comp is reliant on hitting Jinx to work, we need to win streak as we have to have enough HP and gold to get to level 8, so if you are loss streaking with this comp, you will not have a great time unless you roll a ton at level 6 and stage 3 too. If you want to learn more about how to play the early game, check out my guide where I go in depth on that subject. After the Krugs round, you should have more direction towards a comp, and the general requirements to play Scrap Jinx is to have at least 3 or 4 of the Scrap units, while also having components for AD items. Like I already mentioned, we have to get to level 8 in order to find Jinx, and Scrap is a great synergy to get strong in win streak to get there. Once you get to stage 3-2, you want to level to 6. Unless you are win streaking, you want to roll down for this board. The reason is that we need to get to level 8, and if we have 4 Scrap with some 2 stars, we should be able to get there. If you high roll a Janna, playing 6 Scrap here is also huge as we get a gigantic shield. Make sure to also hold on to at least 1 Vi, as the sister trait is crucial for this comp to work late game. During the mid game, it is important to scout. This is so we can see how many other people are going for Jinx carry. This comp can support around 2 people going for Jinx carry. If there are more, it will be close to impossible to 2-star her. Comps at 10-1 Jinx and their comps are Chemtech Urgot, 6 Scrap Jinx, as well as the 3 Socialite comp. Some good comps to pivot into from there are Trundle Reroll, Chemtech Urgot, and Sniper Jhin. If you want to learn more about how to play the mid game, check out my guide where I go in depth on that subject. On stage 4-1, you want to be level 7, and from here you have 2 different options. You can either roll at level 7 or you can go for a fast 8. If you're rolling at level 7, you want to transition into a different comp as we will not have enough gold to hit Jinx 2-star later in the game. Therefore, you only have one realistic option, which is to go level 8 on either stage 4-5 or 5-1. This comp is similar to Knight Kayle from set 5 and other comps that are reliant on legendaries as their main carries. They end up being very feast or famine. Before you roll at level 8, it is very important that you know which units you're looking for. This is where all the previous scouting we have done comes in handy. With information on what the rest of the lobby is playing, we can more easily tech in synergies and champions that benefits us the most against the current lobby. With this comp, you will generally start off by slowly pivoting out of 6 scrap and replace them with legendaries such as Tahm Kench, Jace, and Yuumi. We can also replace them for Zac and Mundo to get 3 Chemtech into the frontline. In general, the more gold you have when rolling at level 8, the more likely you are to move down to 4 or even 2 scrap. But if you have little gold, you are most likely stuck with 6 scrap for the rest of the game. Once you have hit your board at level 8, you want to go to level 9 if possible. This is to increase the odds of hitting Jinx 2-star and other legendaries, and also to add in another unit. This comp can tech in a lot of different units, so we benefit greatly from an extra slot. In general, you will be able to go to level 9 if you have at least Jinx 1-star, and almost every other unit needs to be 2-starred as well. But as always, if you have a lot of HP and gold, you can get away with not having that many 2-stars. And if you're high rolling and able to go level 9 with a lot of gold, the most capped version of this comp looks like this. It is very expensive to pull off, so you will only be able to do this in a couple of your games. General positioning with this comp looks like this. Here we have Urgot and Ziggs in both corners to be farthest away CC bait. Jinx is in the middle to stay safe before she ults. Janna is pushed up so she will be able to CC the units that are next to Jinx if she lands close to the center of the map. Now moving on to some in-depth positioning examples. Against the first guy, the big threat is Kai'Sa. Ziggs is getting hooked by Blitzcrank, our Blitz is hooking in Kai'Sa, Trundle, Urgot, and Janna are positioned to get targeted by Sion, this way Jinx doesn't get hit by the spell. Against the second guy, the big threat is Kog'Maw. Blitzcrank is positioned to hook in Caitlyn, Ziggs is getting pulled in by the enemy Blitzcrank, Janna is positioned on the second row to push away the enemy frontliners. This way, the enemy snipers get way less sniper damage. Against the third guy, the big threat is Jhin. Blitz is hooking in Orianna, Janna is second row to yet again push away the frontliners to make them get less sniper value, and Vi is positioned to shred the armor of the bodyguards. Thank you so much for watching. If you learned something, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Comment down below what video you want me to make next, and if you want to get better at TFT, join the Discord. We got over 6,000 other players there who are hungry to climb, and if you want to get coached by me, the information is over in the Discord server as well. So take care, and see you in the next video.